Right guys, welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of my F1 2019 career mode here today for the Singapore Grand Prix. If you guys missed the last episode at Italy, the last of the European races, then go watch it by clicking the link in the top right hand corner of the screen guys. And before we jump into any spoilers, go watch that to see exactly what happened in that race. But you can see on screen, we do have a chance of rain in the race here today, and it always seems to happen at Singapore, there's some kind of rain involved. But this weekend guys, we have no upgrades in the car, and we're not going to do any practice because, as you guys saw in the last episode, we have now officially maxed out the McLaren when it comes to performance and R&D. There's no more upgrades we can physically make, so we're just waiting for the regulation change next season. And at some point I will have a video on my channel where there'll be a team vote for next season, so keep your eyes peeled for that one guys, because a couple of episodes ago we actually did a vote. I believe it was after the Belgian Grand Prix. We did a vote and I asked whether I should leave McLaren for season 5 or stay, and the majority of you wanted me to leave. So we are going to look for a new team for next season in career mode, and hence why we're not going to really push too much when it comes to protecting parts of McLaren next season, because they are going to be a rival, so we don't really want to be strengthen them as much as they possibly could be. We want to try, give a bit of an opportunity there for us to make something happen. So hopefully you guys can appreciate that, and there'll be a video, like I said, very soon on the channel regarding team choice for season 5. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. But today we are here, and no practice, like I said, so straight into qualifying we go at Marina Bay, and it's going to be the only dry weekend, or the dry session, sorry, of the weekend, because obviously the race is going to be in the wet, so we can forget about saving tyres and that kind of stuff because we don't really need them. We are going to be starting the race on the Inters probably, so it's going to be a straightforward session. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the car does okay. Based off of practice, I wasn't feeling super confident because overheating is really critical around here. I was overheating on the medium tyres, which was quite concerning, but hopefully over one lap, if I can have a really slow out lap, I can cool the tyres down massively, and then I should be okay to get a decent bit of pace out of the car. And my first lap, actually, we was on a really good lap, but I clipped the wall on the exit. We are still good enough to cross the line and go P1, surprisingly, with a bit of damage. Luckily it's only yellow damage, which I got fixed, and eventually we went out for another run. But I know there's a little bit of time in that final sector. As you go through sector 1 on my second attempt, I'm a tenth of a second down, and then through sector 2 we are still down by a little fraction, but we do set a purple middle sector, so we are improving. But the first one was actually really good. It was like I said before, it's a shame for that little mistake because it was a really strong lap. But this time we make sure we don't make the errors. We just get really close to the wall, but don't hit it this time. And now into the final quarter, carrying the speed, and we improve by 2.5 tenths as we cross the line and take P1 away from Carlos Sainz with a 1:31.1, and a really strong lap there from us as we now move on to the final run in qualifying with 20 seconds to go. I'm going to be the last car across the line, so here we go. Let's try and set a good lap. Currently, it's a 1-2 for McLaren with Leclerc in third as we now start our lap. As we make our way down towards turn 1, we're going to try and brake at the 100-meter board, possibly the 50, down to 4th gear if you need it, and then through turn 3. Really important to get a good clean exit here. Use all the tarmac on the right-hand side if you need it, and get the power down as soon as you can, and now open up the line into turn number 4. Really important to carry the exit speed and also attack the inside curve a little bit more than I did. I lost a little bit of time by missing the apex slightly as we now go flat through the back straight. And now braking late for the end of sector 1 into the start of sector 2 for this sort of left-hander, which feeds into a series of rights and lefts really, and this is when it starts to get really tricky in Singapore. And so far we are set up by a fraction as we go for this very kind of double apex left, very tricky corner because you don't know whether to really attack the apex or go for a late apex and focus on your exit. Either way, we are still improving as we make our way into the little complex here, and a really nice line through there, carrying a lot of speed over the chicane, over the curb, and through the Anderson Bridge down towards the hairpin, down to first gear. We actually find 2 tenths there because I actually made a little bit of a lock-up on the previous attempt into there. Not a major one, but for some reason it surprised me how much time I gained, to be fair, as we now make our way down towards turn 14. But purple sector 2, attacking the apex, running a nice bit of exit speed as we now make our way into the final part of the lap here. And we're going to start a little series of chicanes as we go into a little right-left, which is then going to feed it into a left-right underneath the bridge. And we are still keeping our advantage here, which is good to see as we go underneath the tunnel. Quickly back on the throttle and then back on the brakes once again for one more final right-left chicane. Important to really get as close as you can to the wall on the right-hand side, and we're 3.5 tenths up here as we throw the car into the final corner. Can we beat Verstappen's lap time for P1? And the answer is yes, we do. We managed to get into the 1 minute 30s with a 1 minute 30.7, really strong lap, and really happy with that one. No mistakes whatsoever on that one. I went extra slow on the out lap to make sure the tyres were extra cool, and I had no overheating issues with that, and that really made the difference. You can see how much time I gained towards the end of the lap, and the car was working fantastically well, and I was really confident with it as we secure pole position and a P1 here at the Singapore Grand Prix, ahead of Verstappen, who joins us on the front row, and then Carlos Sainz in P3 ahead of Charles Leclerc, with Perez in P5 for Hamilton in P6. But that is a grid for the race tomorrow, guys. We're now going to move into a rainy Singapore Grand Prix, and hopefully we can secure the win.
As the sun sets over the South China Sea, the sport that never sleeps is alert and raring to go. Welcome, under the bright lights of the Marina Bay circuit, to another Singapore Grand Prix. It's a very long, very physical lap, this one, and really there's not much in the way of margin for error. So we have a bit of an endurance race for you tonight. We have a high risk of a safety car here today, as the abundance of tight corners mixed with these wet conditions could put a few cars off into the barriers. 23 turns then, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, make up the 3.1 mile lap of Marina Bay. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. And Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Martinez lines up on pole position and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Leclerc, Sergio Perez and Hamilton, Gasly, Russell, Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel, Hülkenberg, Albon, Valtteri Bottas and Kvyat. Norris, Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi. Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, here we are then on the grid for the Singapore Grand Prix, and as you can see, it is raining and we are starting the race on the intermediates. In terms of the strategy, unfortunately for us, because I have done the race strategy program in practice, I don't have a personalised strategy to use, so therefore I'm going to use the projected one, which is going to give me about 5 laps extra fuel, which is a hell of a lot. So we're going to have to try and burn this off whilst trying to race away, because that's a lot of extra weight in the car and a lack of pace. So we've got to try and work on that. But it's going to be inters all the way through, pretty consistent weather forecast and a predicted one-stop strategy. So the target is simple, really. If we hold the lead into the first corner, I think I should be okay to win this race, because I can just keep everyone behind me. But if we lose the lead, it's going to be a tricky race. So we've got to make sure we get a really good, clean start, and then we'll take it from there. But either way, let's have a little bit of fun and let's jump into the racing. And hopefully we can try and make it 5 wins on the spin, because we've won the last 4, so if we can make it 5, that'd be fantastic. So let's jump into it, let's get racing, and it's now time for the Singapore Grand Prix. Right, here we go then. Start absolutely critical here as the 5 red lights come on. Lights out and away we go. Got away pretty well. Going to cover the inside and force Verstappen the long way round into turn 1. He's still there. Got to leave some room, but we are going to take the racing line and recover P1 nicely as we go through turn 3. And there we go, that's exactly what we needed, holding on to that first place. At the minute, these conditions suit me. The rain's quite heavy actually. It's on the heavier side of the light rain, which is what I want, because I'm normally better in those conditions. So I'm fully intent to use this to try and pull away. So I'm going to get my head down and try and open up a gap nice and early to Verstappen here and see if we can establish a bit of an early lead. But so far so good. Just got to try and adapt to the conditions, because I haven't driven any wet conditions in quite a while, at least not in the race, so it's going to be a bit of a learning curve. That's why it's even more important to be leading out front. And I've already got an enriched mix to try and burn some fuel off as well, so hopefully as the fuel comes down we can pick up the pace. I'm a little bit concerned that there could be some overheating issues even on the intermediates, because it is Singapore. It's a very stressful circuit for the tyres, but luckily the rain's heavier than I thought, which is a good thing. But at the minute the car doesn't feel that great. I need to maybe get it in the groove a little bit and try and find my confidence. Luckily for us, no DRS, and I'm really good at traction zones, which is really important. So far, so good as I get a bit wide into turn 14 there. That was a little bit of a scary moment. Right, I'm going to go quiet for a little bit now and try and focus. Could be a boring race, you never know, but it's all about winning it, so let's get to work. Fastest lap, that gets taken away though from the cars behind. Pace is pretty close at the minute, trying to shake them off, but we don't really have that much of an advantage.
The radar suggests that this heavy rain will be with us for a while now.
That's good news for us, because these conditions suit me, and I'm happy with that. But like I was saying, the last lap wasn't the best. I made a few mistakes. It wasn't the cleanest lap, so hopefully this one is a better one. This is a better lap from us. Much better lap. Almost 1.5 seconds up. That's a little bit wide there, which is going to ruin my momentum, but we are still going to improve. 51.3, and the gap is now up to 1.4 seconds. This is the kind of pace that I need, and these conditions suit me, so hopefully we can keep doing this. Picking up my pace a little bit now as we start to crank it up some more. 150.9. Gap now 2.3 seconds. That's more like it. That is very much on the limit of the pace though. That's the best I can do. The fuel's slowly burning away as well, which is good to see, as we are pretty much almost 1/3 through the race, almost. Another strong lap, 150.8.
This heavy rain will last around 15 minutes, after which we should see a transition to light rain. Check your MFD for a new strategy option. Got that confirmed?
We'll go for that. No problem with that at all. We've got a nice gap, so we are covering the undercut, so if we have to go long, that's not a problem with me. Currently the pace is really good. I'm going faster and faster every single lap. Seems like the fuel now is starting to really make a difference, and the car's getting nice and light. Let's keep it going.
Okay, the weather's certainly eased off for the time being, but we've still got a lot of standing water out there. We're happy for you to stay out on the inters for now. Green flag.
Oh, something's happened behind us. I was going to mention the rain has just started to decrease in intensity as Leclerc retires. That's a big one for the championship. One of the title favourites at the start of the season. As we improve again to a 50.7. But feels like the rain's just starting to ease off a little bit into light rain. Luckily we've got the gap, and we're still setting the pace, which is good. And another lap, 50.5. This is really good pace for me. Not a major difference each lap, but we're just slowly improving and getting faster as the fuel burns away. Gap now 5 seconds to Verstappen, and now we're pretty comfortable. So we're now pretty much the third way through this race officially.
Weather should improve in 10 minutes time. Light rain in 10 minutes.
That's okay. That's more than enough time for us to keep pushing and extending the gap. Sainz is starting to put some pressure on Verstappen now as well. So hopefully he can get past soon and make it a 1-2 for the team. Ooh, that was a slide and a half, that was. That was scary. Heart in mouth moment.
We're expecting you in around 2 laps, and we'll be putting you on the intermediate tyres.
Another purple lap, still pushing. We'll get to go even quicker on the fresh rubber, hopefully. But the gap is now pushing that 10-second barrier. I'm on an absolute flyer here. Car's just getting quicker and quicker, and the track is as well. 50 dead. Almost in the 149s. 2 laps to go until we pit. I'm expecting Verstappen and Carlos to pit this lap. Let's see which one does. And it's Verstappen who pits. Carlos stays out for at least another lap.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
I'll try my best. Sainz should pit in hopefully. This lap. If he doesn't, I'll be a little bit surprised because it means we're probably going to have to stack. There we go. He pits. Thank God for that.
Is in for his stop.
I would have been so annoyed if it would have been a pointless stack, but luckily Carlos pits in. Let's see if Verstappen maybe got a little bit of traffic on his out lap. Possibly that might give Carlos a chance to get out in front. Just easing the car through now as we're going to box in. There we go. Into the pit lane we go. We're going to keep it in rich mix so we burn off the last bit of extra fuel we have. Get it all slow down to the 60, and there we go. Wow, what a first in that was. We struggled at first to find the pace, but once we got in the groove, it was fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. But now we need a good stop from the boys here to make sure we keep the pace.
Go now.
And we'll take that 1.9. That's exactly what I want from the boys as we now rejoin the track. It should be comfortably back in P1. Fresh set of intermediates and about 13 laps to go.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. You'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Yep, nice and cautiously back into the track. No need to push the limits because we've got no pressure from anybody. Verstappen's held on the second place. Sainz is actually a bit further back this time, but we rejoin in P1 comfortably.
Pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down.
So let's burn off this last bit of fuel, and we're going to hopefully cruise to the finish with no dramas. That's what I want anyway. Okay, well this lap will definitely get me into the 149s, and I think secure the fastest lap of the Grand Prix here today. There we go, 49.3. I can now cruise as we're now negative on fuel. The gap is more than big enough, so all we've got to do now is just pretty much drive it to the finish in this final third of the race. Gap to Verstappen 9.2 seconds, so overall a good day's work at the office. Now we've got to try and make sure it ends correctly, as it should do. Right, we're going to lap a Mercedes here. How rare is that to say? Lapping a Mercedes car in a career mode. Something I never thought I'd say, especially in a McLaren, but there you go, we get past. I got bored, so I went for another fastest lap. One of them races, really. Here we go then, guys, into the final sector now, and oh my god, it's been a long race. It's been such a long race. I'd appreciate a like on the video, guys, if you are watching until this point. Just to appreciate and also support the channel, because this race in the rain, it just feels like an eternity. It's over an hour long. It just goes on forever, but either way, we've made it, and it's been a very strong race. It's worked out beautifully. No hiccups, no issues. We just had to get a good start, and that's exactly what we did. And it's going to be a 1-3 from the McLaren team. And we're also going to pick up the fast lap of the Grand Prix as we go through the final corner, and the fireworks will start to go off here. And that was a smooth operation.
Absolutely fantastic. It's a brilliant result. Well done.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for McLaren today. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret? How did your team respond to the poor conditions today? Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash? Appreciate your time.
Right, so looking at the final race results here today, Carlos Sainz actually got the fast lap of the Grand Prix at the end. He actually snatched it away from me, so fair play to him. At least a point stays with McLaren, but more importantly, we pick up the win ahead of Verstappen and Carlos. So a very strong result for us in the McLaren team, ahead of Perez, and then Gasly outside the podium positions with Hamilton and Ricciardo behind them. Vettel, Hülkenberg and Albon round out the top 10 with Russell, Fiat, Bottas, Magnussen, Stroll, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Norris, Raikkonen all finishing outside the points, and Charles Leclerc, the only retirement here today in the Williams, and that was right at the start of the Grand Prix. So a disappointing race there for the Monegasque driver in the Williams, and that could potentially put an end to his championship hopes. As we look at the standings, and you can see we are currently 69 points clear, haha, joke, ahead of Sergio Perez in first place with I believe 5 races to go, or 6 races to go. So we're looking pretty good, and we could wrap this up nice and early. And Perez overtakes Leclerc for second place in the process as well. Meanwhile, Carlos Sainz now is still in 6th place, but he's closing in on Hamilton, and he could make a late challenge for that top 5, which is good to see. In terms of the constructors though, we are 41 points clear of Racing Point, and we're starting to pull away now, and it's looking pretty convincing for McLaren to win both championships here today. But guys, that is going to be it for this video and this episode of Career Mode here today for the Singapore Grand Prix. If you guys enjoyed it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video, guys, for also how long this race takes to record, especially in the rain. And if you're new to the channel, guys, please do subscribe for daily Formula 1 content, and also turn on notifications to not miss any videos from me in the future. And also finally, guys, check out these 2 videos on your screen if you have missed them. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next episode very soon. But until then, it's goodbye from me.